Good morning, Santa Clarita. Welcome in. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVI and iLEAD Schools, Eye on the Valley. I am Matt Watson. Welcome back and happy Friday. It's good to have you. Thank you for joining us. If you're out there in Facebook land, hello. It is great to see you guys. Yep, you know when you hear my voice, it is a Friday morning. And it is a finally fall Friday morning. In fact, there's weather in the forecast this weekend. It is cool out there. It is it's almost getting to long sleeve weather, you know. I was getting dressed this morning thinking about, all right, got to start taking inventory of the sweaters I got here in the closet. So yeah, fall is here. It is Thanksgiving season, and so yeah, let's get into the mood. Let's get thankful and let's get this show started. You know, before we get started, I need to start the day with a bit of a confession. It's my fault. Yeah, I'm the one that's counting all these ballots, and I was doing okay, but you know, anytime I make any serious progress, you know, my big brother, he walks in and he goes 86, 23, 4,672, and I get all messed up and I have to start again. So, yeah, I'm really sorry, but I tell you what, I'm gonna lock the bedroom door this weekend. I promise that after the show today, I will have everything counted and sorted out by next Friday's show, okay? I promise. All the results I will have by next Friday's show, and if I don't, y'all can take me to court, you know, because that's how we roll in election season. This is crazy, isn't it? You know, I've never seen it take so long, and you know, you can say record voter turnout, but you know, whatever. We didn't have 3 times as many people voting this time, did we? I mean, is it the mail-in ballots? Maybe. I mean, it's weird, you know, and you know, do you remember back in 2000? That was a crazy election, and that one took a long time to sort through, and I think it was because at least the presidential race took a long time to sort through. You know, Patty's staring at me like, you know, with a blank stare. No, he doesn't remember 2000, but I do. You know, that's back when the different media outlets were calling states for one candidate and then pulling that back and calling them for another candidate and pulling that back. And in the weeks and lawsuits that followed, they, you know, the news media started to promise, you know what, we will never rush to call states for candidates again too early, and that they would wait until it was clear. And yeah, that lasted a little bit, didn't it? So now, is it red or is it pink or is it light blue? Is it fully blue? Yeah. So it is an interesting time. You know, we'll talk to the mayor about that a little bit later on. Let's go ahead and I'll get back to the counting after today's show. Like I said, I promise. But it is going to be a great show, so let's jump right into it. I really am excited today. I've got some of my absolute favorite guests, all of whom we haven't heard from in a little while. So in just a moment, we're going to be checking in with Lisa Latimer and Ayden Bybee from iLEAD Agua Dulce Charter School. They have got such a cool school here in Agua Dulce. I say here because it is, you know, I grew up in the Saugus area, always thinking, you know, Agua Dulce is so far away. You know, Agua Dulce really is right around the corner from me in Saugus. It's right here on the east side of the valley, and they've got such an amazing school, such a unique campus, and even though they can't be on campus right now, that hasn't stopped them from developing their incredible curriculum and social emotional program that's keeping their kids happy, healthy, and growing. So if you haven't heard about the great things going on at iLEAD Agua Dulce, stick around. They'll be here with us in just a minute, and I think you'll be captivated by what they have to say. And a little bit later on in the show, we'll be joined by Mayor Cameron Smyth. As I said, he's back after about a 4-month hiatus, Patty. It's been a long time since Mayor Smyth has been here. He'll be here to talk about the election and catch us up on what's going on in and around the valley and talk about some of the other things that we've got going on. And at the end of our show, he's back. Big T will be back. He is always so much fun. If you haven't enjoyed one of Big T's segments, Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame, you're in for a treat. It is going to be a great show, a really great show today. So let's go ahead and get to it. My first guests are Lisa Latimer and Ayden Bybee. Lisa Latimer grew up with a heart for education. She attended Van Nuys High School and later the University of Laverne. She began teaching at Pinecrest Schools in Lancaster. Remember Pinecrest? Oh, In 1988, Lisa started there, where she excelled quickly, becoming an expert in early literacy. She soon rose to a leadership position, becoming the director of that very same Pinecrest campus. Today, she is the proud mother and grandmother who lives in Rancho Vista, California with her loving husband, and is the founding director of iLEAD's campus in Agua Dulce, an unashamed parrot head who spends her free time playing with her grandchildren and wasting away in Margaritaville. Lisa Latimer, good morning.
Good morning.
It's always good to have you, but first, I want to talk about the born and raised in Antelope Valley, Ayden Bybee. She attended Paraclete High School in Palmdale and had a remarkable talent as a swimmer and became a student athlete at Lake Forest College in Illinois, where she graduated in 2017 with a degree in psychology and child development. And, I know you're thinking she graduated in 2017. She's just a whippersnapper. Yes, she is young, but she's already been working with children for almost a dozen years. She joined iLEAD Agua Dulce as a care team member. That's kind of what you might call a paraprofessional or a teacher's aide. But quickly recognizing her talents, Lisa promoted her to the position of outdoor classroom facilitator. That's what we call our teachers. Ayden is also swim coach for the Palmdale Frogs Aquatics Club. Thanks for joining us again, Ayden. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am glad to have both of you back. It just occurred to me, Ayden, are the frogs still swimming up there, or are they COVIDed out of the pool?
They're still out of the pool.
Bummer. Okay, well, hopefully we can get those frogs and tadpoles back in there and swimming soon. But let's get to iLEAD Agua Dulce. Lisa, tell us about your school. Give us a little bit of a history of the school, because it's a very brief history, but a very interesting one. Tell us about the history and the philosophy of your school.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're only on our third year, and it's been quite an amazing ride so far. We opened in 2018 with only 8 weeks from the approval of our charter. So we had quite a bit to take care of, and right away we started with our community of parents who are absolutely amazing, helping us to get the school ready for our kids. And right from the get-go, we were very cognizant that we wanted to ensure that our school was a joyful environment. And so we worked hard to create an experience rather than walking into a typical school institution. We wanted our kids to feel a part of the school, be able to kind of tailor back to what kids used to do, climbing trees, playing in the rain, of course, all with expectations, but it's very much culture-driven, family-driven, relationship-driven, and offering that rigorous academics as well.
Oh, that sounds like a fun place to be. And I've spent a decent amount of time on your campus, and from what I can tell, the kids do seem to have a lot of fun on your campus, and you enjoy having fun with them, don't you? You get out there and play with the kids too, don't you?
We do. I think we all do. We all do. We're all out there and creating relationships with the kids and having fun with them so they feel comfortable and safe in their environment. Very important.
That is so important. It's interesting that you say that it's important for them to feel comfortable and safe in their environment, because as I walk around your campus, at least back when we were able to have kids on campus, your kids were doing some stuff that concerned me a little bit. I mean, I saw kids in trees, and Lisa, the best thing I ever saw, you had, there was a kid on like one of those refrigerator movers, right? Just a little square, couple of 2x4s nailed together with casters underneath it. And he was being pulled by one of his classmates who had like an old ski rope, like a tow rope, and they were just whipping him around and experimenting with centrifugal force, seeing if they could, whip him off of that refrigerator mover. You said you like to keep your kids safe, but there's some risk going on out there at the playground.
There is, and actually risky play or adventurous play is very important in a child's development for actually healthy brain development. They need to learn self-regulation, what they can and can't do. It builds coordination. It helps with proprioceptive and vestibular awareness, and it really helps actually expending that energy. So when they're in the classrooms, they're ready to focus. They need to be able to move and run and play, and they know their limits. We do, like I said, it's not Lord of the Flies. We set expectations, especially with the tree climbing. They can't just get a chair to get up the tree. They have to be able to get up themselves so they can safely get back down. They're given a freedom because we trust them initially, and then sometimes with some of our learners, we have to tailor back and then help support them so they could have that freedom again. So there's expectations, and there's also consequences if they don't go by those expectations. But for the most part, they want to play, and they're having fun. They're not on their cell phones just sitting around. They're really working those bodies, and it shows when they're in the classroom. In addition to that whipping around on the scooters, we have grapevines and fruit trees and garden beds, and the kids built and a beautiful, looks like a chicken apartment building, but it's a chicken coop. It's huge, and so there's a lot for them to do. We have Creation Station shed that is was formed by the learners themselves, and it houses a plethora of loose parts for the kids to be able to create with artistically and creatively, and during recess and lunch. So we have a lot for our learners to do, and we really believe that because they're doing something that has lessened any disciplinary issues that you would typically find.
Well, yeah, you keep them busy. They don't have enough time to get in trouble. That's a
Exactly.
great idea. So you talk about all this space for kids to run around, and especially here in the burbs, playground space, real estate on school campuses is kind of at a premium. But you've got herb gardens and grapevines and chicken coops and all different kinds of things like that. Do you know about how much, what's the size of the property you're on there? How much acreage do you have?
Oh, actually, I don't know that. It's quite a few acres, though, that's
Okay.
for sure. It's very, very large, and we have two separate yards. So one yard is our outdoor classroom, which Ayden will talk more about later on. But we have a vast area. We have an upper area, and then a lower area where all of our gardens are. So there's a lot of room for our kids to play.
Yeah, you've got a ton of space out there. It's just wide open, and it's funny. I've seen kids who have stepped on your campus for the first time, and their eyes just become wide as saucers. It's they start to look around that yard, and you can see it going through their head. Oh man, I can do all kinds of stuff out there, and that's kind of the idea. So let's talk about your philosophy when it comes to children, because one of my favorite things when I walk on your campus is you've got a sign that says free-range children. Can you tell me a little bit more about the concept of free-range children?
It is. It's, the word free kind of goes, it's two ways. Free to think, inspired to lead, which is, the mission of iLEAD schools in general. But also, we want our learners to have the freedom to think on their own, to have their own ideas, bring their ideas to us so we could help them perhaps implement it on campus. And then the freedom to be a child, which is, I think it's overlooked now. We're so test-driven and assessment crazy right now. We're forgetting that children need a childhood, and they need to be able to run and kind of disconnect from the real world that's happening around them, and be able to make sense of it and just be with their friends and off that technology. So there's a lot of freedom that takes place outside, and then inside there's a lot of voice and choice they have within the classroom and within their learning, which goes with project-based learning.
Yeah, that is really important. You're right. I have heard people talk about, well, is your 3-year-old reading? Well, if your 3-year-old is reading, that's fantastic. But can your 3-year-old climb a tree yet? That's what I want to know. So, Ayden, speaking of free-range children, Ayden, you play a huge role in encouraging children to play and explore their world. You're the outdoor classroom facilitator. Can you explain to our audience what that means? As the outdoor classroom facilitator, what's your job? What do you do?
Yeah, so if I had to choose one word to describe my job, it would be messy. And that's because I really encourage learners to get fully hands-on in messy play. Our outdoor classroom is designed to take learning out of a standard learning environment, which is typically inside four walls. So it allows learners to gain a sense of being out in nature, and we do lots of hands-on activities. Our different centers that we have outside are Science Center, Mud Center, Art Center, Loose Part, Building, Nature Center, Dramatic Play, Water Tables, Sensory Bins, Tinkering Station, Construction Station, and each of those stations are jam-packed with materials that go with it. Each center is set up with a lot of intentionality with the hopes that learners will discover and explore and create all on their own. And then in the yard, I will also set up provocations, which are designed to invoke curiosity and are completely child-led. So for an example, in our Science Center, I might stick out baking soda, vinegar, and salt and let learners discover what happens when you mix each of the things. And learners are usually very quick to determine that baking soda and vinegar explode while vinegar and salt do not.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like a lot of fun, but you mentioned words like provocations and intentionality. So this isn't just play for play's sake, which, let's face it, that wouldn't be bad at all. Play for play's sake is super important for kids and adults, but you've got curriculum going on here. This is important stuff, but I can't put my finger on why. What's the why behind it? Why is this type of learning outside, exploring the messy things, the dirty things? Why is this important?
Yeah, well, learning. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to say that we really value the research that has been conducted on play for decades and decades, and people associate play as like the antithesis of learning when it's actually synonymous with learning. And all you have to do is just Google the benefits of play, and it'll show you a massive amount of research that has been done. It builds connectivity. There is so much more that takes place, so much learning that takes place rather than filling in a worksheet. So, for instance, a child could color in a worksheet on gravity or something like that, but our kids are actually building ramps and they're learning all of the science behind it. So when you're doing something, you're making that connection with the learning rather than just filling in a blank on a worksheet. Now, not all worksheets are bad, and we do have curriculum, but we want to make sure that our kids connect what they're learning, how it's applicable in the real world. And there's a lot more discovery that takes place, and the learning stays in the brain better when you're actually doing it on your own.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. Lisa, you might recognize this word. I remember when I was a kid in elementary school, I spent spring break with my grandparents one year, and my grandmother was asking me, so what's school like? What do you do in school? And my answer to her was just one word. I said, dittos. Do you remember dittos, Lisa?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
And that's before we had a copy machine. Lisa and I are old folks. Sorry, Lisa. But
okay.
you know, our teachers used to like crank out copies, these worksheets by hand, and that was all I worked on at school. I would go from one ditto to the next, one worksheet to the next. School wasn't engaging. It wasn't exciting. It was the memorization and regurgitation of facts, rather than the exploring the world around you that you're talking about. So, but Ayden, this does need to fold into the rigorous curriculum, the what that the state says that our kids need to learn. So, how do you fold this in, what you're doing outdoors, or how do you complement what's going on, I guess, in the indoor classroom?
Yeah, so really Outdoor Classroom is designed to encourage child-led play, but it also extends what is being taught in our quote-unquote indoor classroom. So both me and the facilitator inside work very closely to ensure that, whatever they're learning inside is also being taught outside. And we set up stations for learners to explore on their own in order to extend that learning. And that can be anywhere from ELA centers, math centers, and even project-based centers.
Well, fantastic. We do have to take a quick break, but there's a lot more that I want to get to with Ayden Bybee and Lisa Latimer, both of them from iLEAD Agua Dulce Charter School here in Agua Dulce. Like I said, we've got so much more to talk about, but we've got to get to some commercials. We will be right back. You are listening to SCVI and iLEAD Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVI and iLEAD Schools Eye on the Valley, and I am your host, Matt Watson. We're talking this morning with iLEAD Agua Dulce Charter School's outdoor classroom facilitator, Ayden Bybee, and school director, Lisa Latimer. We were talking before the break about the unique philosophy and approach to a rigorous curriculum that they take with play and the outdoor classroom, where kids learn to explore everything around them in the world, and how that really spawns creativity and what they call divergent thinking that leaders know is so important in learning. But Lisa, everybody's talked about how crazy of a year 2020's been, and pandemic, wildfires, murder hornets, and all the rest. Your campus is nestled right there in the center of Agua Dulce, among the beautiful hills and fields. But you've had a couple of fires up there this year, haven't you?
We did. Last year when we were on campus, and got a little close this year, but last year was a little crazy in October.
Okay.
With the high winds and the power outages. It was a little crazy. We tried to make do before the fires happened with the winds and the power outages, bringing lights in and portable bathrooms and trying to keep learning going with the kids. But then once the fire started, obviously we had to shut down school for a few days.
You had to get out of Dodge. So you,
Yep.
Just back in October, you were shut down because of winds and fire, and then you come back for a couple of months, and now you're shut down because of the pandemic. That has been rough. So you guys are currently shut down, just kind of like the rest of us. So how are things going? What does school at iLEAD Agua Dulce look like today? Because I'd imagine you probably don't have too many kids climbing trees there anymore. And so how's it going?
Well, actually, we might still have kids climbing trees, because we brought it was challenging, in the beginning, because it happened so quickly, and we're really proud with iLEAD in general that we were able to transition from school to online learning very quickly without any gap. And so knowing that we were going to begin the year with this distance learning, we were really intentional about creating as much normalcy as possible virtually. So Ayden continued her outdoor classroom classes last year and this year with all of the kids. So it happens live. Our kids have times when they Zoom in, and they're doing specific activities with her that are fun and engaging and sparks, wonderment and creativity and an inquiry. And every classroom has a play board. It's a choice board of different activities that they need to do each day. So we ensure that our learners are not just sitting behind the computer the entire time. We want them to stay healthy mentally and physically. And we are still continuing with our project-based learning. And it was hard at first, obviously, but everyone's in their groove, and we're wrapping up our first project, which is really an amazing project and highly engaging. So we feel like we're in this groove, and obviously we can't wait to get back to campus.
Sure.
But the way we have it set up is basically what they would do on campus.
That is awesome, and so I want to hear more about that project. But first, I want to talk to Ayden. Ayden, Lisa says that you're still running your outdoor classroom, except it's not outside in the playground area. It's whatever is outside of the kids' homes. So you've got different activities. You've got choice boards for the kids to choose what different play activities and outdoor activities they're going to do. What kind of things do you have your kids doing?
Yeah, so like Lisa said, we have this semester we introduced play choice boards, and that is to really ensure that each learner is able to unplug from the computer or the technology for a little bit and do a play activity. So each week, learners have 9 play activities that they can choose from, and then we just ask that they complete one a day so that they can take that break. And these activities are meant to be child-led, and they mirror pretty much what we would do on campus. Things like mud play, sensory play, art, building, science experiments, lots of different things.
Well, and you and I talked back in the spring, and you were talking about how you also lead outdoor activities, whether it's live or virtually. I think I remember you talking about taking your class on hikes with you, not actually, but virtually. You were going out on hikes and filming different things and saying, hey, I wonder what that is. What do you think that is? And other activities, you were guiding them through science experiments. Now, I think just last week for Halloween, you were doing something with pumpkins. What were you doing with pumpkins?
Yeah, so last week we did a pumpkin investigation where I made sure each learner was able to get a small pumpkin at home, and we really just cut into the pumpkin on Zoom, and we investigated the insides. We learned about the different parts, and then we cleaned the pumpkin, and then the next day we did a potion out of the pumpkin where we mixed baking soda, vinegar, and paint. And it was really fun, really special, because on campus we do a huge thing during October and Halloween where we look at lots of different gourds. Like, learners smash pumpkins, they get to throw them, hammer into them. So it was really special that we were still able to continue doing that even though we're all at home right now.
Okay, so Smashing Pumpkins is not just a turn of the century alternative band. It's something that you're doing in your classroom. All right. So I remember when my parents would leave. It was maybe November 1st, November 2nd, and yeah, I'd take a hammer to the pumpkin out on the front porch, but that was something I could get in trouble for. This is something you're doing for school. Is this just like literally smashing pumpkins to play around, or is there I mean, some parents might have a hard time finding the school in this. Is there academics going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everything kind of ties loosely to academics, but also, don't you think kids should just have some good-hearted fun every once in a while?
Absolutely, but I can see the physics in there as well. You know, if you're picking up a pumpkin and throwing it on the ground, yeah.
Completely, and we worked on making like these launchers where it was kind of like a kid-friendly slingshot, and kids could then experiment with little pumpkins with that, or there's lots of different things that go into each of the activities, and while it might look like, oh, we're just throwing pumpkins, it definitely has some academics and curriculum behind it.
Ah, wonderful. I'm looking at the Facebook Live feed, and listener Monica says that her son loves this school and that you guys are absolutely amazing. I agree with you I agree with Monica as well. I'm glad that your son's enjoying it. Now, Lisa, you were talking about how your school is finishing up its first project of the year. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What was that? You said the school is finishing up. Is everybody kind of on the same timeline, or what's going on?
Well, they are. It's a tradition at our school that we all begin with the same overarching big picture theme. And then everyone creates their own driving question according to the grade level, but we're all looking at the same through different lenses. And right now, we really wanted to engage our learners right from the get-go. And so there was a lot of thinking going on, and we decided that the one thing all kids of all ages can connect to, and that is toys. Woo-hoo. And so the overarching theme is, how can I spread the joy of toys? And when you look at it through the different grade levels, our littles are looking at how we can design toys that help kids stay connected. Third grade is looking at it through philanthropy. How can we design toys to make others feel good? Fourth grade, they're looking at it through supply and demand and what the consumers want to see in a toy. Fifth grade, they're looking at it through creating a successful business from their toy creation. And sixth grade is looking at toys, the evolution of toys. So it's really focusing on history because toys represent the period of, of time, and so they are designing and marketing an adaptable product for the present day. And so there's a lot of rigor that's going into this. They're researching toys, they're surveying friends and family, and then they're taking that data and they're graphing it in different ways. And they have to write either an informative piece or a persuasive piece, depending on which grade level they're in. There a lot of math that's going in with this too, especially for the grade level. That's they have to create a whole business, a business out of this toy. So they're learning about profit and marketing, and there's a lot of design thinking that's going into this project because the kids have to blueprint their own original toy, and then they have to create the prototype. And what we did, knowing that we wanted to make it equitable, not every child has the same items to be able to create a toy, we created the Notion in Motion box, and we just filled these boxes from loose parts that we had around the school or that people had donated, and we passed out these boxes to our families. So everyone has tons of loose parts to be able to create their prototype. And then once it's about a 6-week project, and we all start at the same time, and this helps to build connectivity with the learners because the siblings are doing pretty much the same thing. They're talking with their friends about it. And then for our staff, because we're a growing school, we add on a lot of new staff each year, and so it helps to build that relationship and teamwork amongst the facilitators. So it's really creating an inclusive culture where we bounce ideas off each other. So it's not compartmentalized. We're all working together on this, and that's what helps create this positivity and lots of collaboration that you would see on our campus, whether it's virtually or on campus.
So you start.
We have had experts in the field from Mattel come in and talk to the learners about the process of making a toy and marketing it. And for our littles, we were really excited to get Ryan Kaji from Ryan's World. This child is extremely popular on YouTube and has his own Nickelodeon show on unboxing toys. And so our learners were able to ask questions to get some more insight to apply to their projects. So, and then Ayden's connecting it all with the outdoor classroom. So it's been joyful, and they're still doing everything that you would do in a typical classroom with the writing and the math and history and science. It's just all bundled up into something that is fun and the kids want to do.
That is so exciting. A little bit sneaky, but super exciting. Outdoor classroom facilitator Ayden Bybee, school director Lisa Latimer, both of them from iLEAD Agua Dulce Charter School. I still want to continue with you guys. Can you hang on for one more break?
Sure. Yep.
Fantastic. We're going to take a quick commercial. You're listening to SCVI and iLEAD Charter Schools. Eye on the Valley. I am Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS. Stay tuned.
Traffic.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station. 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVI and iLEAD Schools, Eye on the Valley. I'm here this morning with Lisa Latimer and Ayden Bybee from iLEAD Agua Dulce. Before the break, we were talking about a school-wide project that you guys were working on, all based around toys, and each grade level had kind of a different area that they were working on, but all deeply rigorous academic stuff that was still fun and super engaging for all the kids. Now, Lisa mentioned that Ayden, your outdoor classroom also played a role in this toy project. So, how did you guys get involved with the outdoor classroom and toys?
Yeah, so our play choice boards have each week have been including children exploring lots of different mediums to help with designing their projects. So anything from building something to painting something, just lots of different hands-on kind of practice for when they build their actual project. And then they're also creating various things from loose parts. So as Lisa said, they have their motion and notion boxes, and so each week they are challenged to explore the different items in there, and there's different things like slinkies and ribbons and lots of really cool loose parts in there. And then during our outdoor classroom live classes, we are even building some recycled toys together. We've built a rocket from a balloon and a straw. I talked earlier about how we built a ball launcher using a paper cup and a balloon. And then my favorite that we've done is we created a toy using a common household item. Kids took this in every direction. Some made musical items, some made dolls, and some learners even made games out of household items. So it's been really, really rewarding to see, and it's really interesting to see what these learners are coming up with.
That is so cool. Like you said, you're using household items and things like that to create, but then you mentioned what Lisa had mentioned last break. You guys actually sent home what you called a Notion in Motion box. You sent a box of supplies to every family on your campus, and producer Sarah actually sent me a picture of one of those boxes. You've got ribbon and balloons and pipe cleaners in there, and just some of the coolest stuff in the world. I don't want instructions. I just want you to send me one of those boxes so I can play. That looks like so much fun and so much creativity going on. But Lisa, it's not just all toys and chickens, right? Those things play a role in a bigger part of developing some hardcore academic learning. And I've heard you say that it all kind of feeds into the process of teaching what you mentioned before, design thinking. Can you explore that concept a little bit? What is design thinking, and why is that important to learning? Because all this stuff we're talking about, I can still hear people asking that question in their cars. Yeah, but how does that help them learn to read and do math? So what part does design thinking play in learning?
Well, if you think about it in the real world, when you are in the workforce, you're not just given the answers. You have to think. You have to be able to step out of that box and problem solve, especially now. So basically, in a nutshell, design thinking is a way to define and solve tough challenges. It focuses on prototype solutions, learning from mistakes, which is incredibly important. We want our learners to think like a scientist and be able to grow and learn from making those mistakes and moving on. So that growth mindset, but it also immerses the learners and the facilitators in real world problem solving. It speaks to that higher level thinking process. And to be able to critically think without being told what to do leads to more brain development that they're going to need throughout life. It's, one thing to just memorize and being told what to study on a test, but it's another to have to create something and think on how to do it and what to do and all of those steps. So it really is a higher level thinking process.
It gets me thinking about that scene in Apollo 13. I don't know if you remember the movie about the astronauts going to the moon, and they have this mechanical failure where the oxygen filter in their spaceship fails, and they're slowly going to die of carbon monoxide poisoning if they can't fix it. And back on Earth, the lead scientist at NASA, he comes in with a box of materials and he dumps it on the table and says to all the rest of the scientists, okay, this is the item that we have to make, and this is all the materials that we have to make it. And he basically dumps out everything that the astronauts have on their rocket with them, and he says, go to work. That's design thinking. That's problem solving. That's what we need to teach our kids to do, right?
Absolutely, and you do a disservice when you are constantly feeding them information and telling them how to do it, and this is it. There's one way, one right answer, when in real life it doesn't work that way. And so we want our children to be able to be creative thinkers and problem solvers, which is extremely important, which is why we are very intentional with the outdoor classroom. In addition, we have an exploratorium, which has a variety of arts and media and programs to be able to do the same thing in the world of technology. We also have a makery where we have hand tools and power tools and robotics for the kids to be able to tinker and create with. So we're trying to really tap into the whole child and give them every opportunity possible, so when they do go out there, they're fully prepared.
That is fascinating. I was watching last night. I was watching a talk by Sir Ken Robinson, because yes, kids, that's what I do in my spare time. But I was watching a talk by Ken Robinson, and he said, a couple of decades ago, we thought of our bodies as just a mode of transportation for our brain, and our brain was what did all the thinking. But we need to think of all of our bodies as an extension of our brain, and that every part of our bodies is a method of learning, and that's kind of what you're doing on campus there. That is super exciting. You guys are some of my favorite guests here on the show. I have to tell you that one of my all-time favorite guests, though, is a neighbor of yours over there at Reyes Winery, Robert Reyes. So do you guys ever stop by Reyes Winery after a hard day at work or just on a Friday and split a bottle of wine?
We may or may not.
Yeah, no comments. Lisa, Ayden, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in today. You guys keep up the great things. We're going to go ahead and get caught up with the news, but we're going to be right back with Mayor Cameron Smyth talking election and everything else going on in and around the Valley. I'm Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVI and iLEAD Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. And welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 on the AM side. This is Matt Watson, your host. You are listening to SCVI and iLEAD Schools Eye on the Valley. My next guest just won re-election, unofficially of course, but the numbers are looking extremely favorable, to the Santa Clarita City Council, and this time with record numbers. Mayor Cameron Smyth has dedicated his life to the service of the city of Santa Clarita. He served on our city council for the past 20 years, interrupting that for a couple of years for a term as our assemblyman in Sacramento. And he is currently serving his fourth term as mayor. Sworn in back in December, he took over a city reeling from several devastating fires and a community rocked by school violence. But he had no idea what he was getting into, never realizing that we were going to ride him as mayor into a pandemic, near economic shutdown, uncertainty, civil unrest, and now one of the craziest election seasons, this millennium anyways. Mayor Smyth, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, Matt. Good morning.
It's good to have you. We appreciate it. First off, Mayor Smyth, congratulations on your re-election.
Well, thank you, Matt, and certainly congratulations are in order for you as well. Even though the numbers look very good for me, I still didn't quite reach the gap that you have in your race. So congratulations to you as well.
I hadn't mentioned it, but yes, for those of you that don't know, it looks like I'm going to be sworn in here soon as an elementary school board member. And so, Mr. Mayor, I do appreciate you mentioning that. I did not realize that the gap that I held was that wide, but thank you. I appreciate it. So I know you've got a lot going on and a lot planned for this next term coming up, but let's start by looking back a little bit. What a crazy election, locally and nationwide and everywhere in between. I mean, and I'm not talking one or two races. We've got a lot of races that are still completely locked up. From local school board, state senate, Congress, President of the United States. Normally this stuff gets figured out by bedtime on election night. Do you have any inside understanding? I mean, you've been involved in elections, whether it's your own or Congressman McKeon's back in the day. You worked on his campaign, your dad's campaigns. Do you know what went on this year? Was it the mail-in ballots? Was it the pandemic? What's going on? What's taking so long?
Yeah, well, I think, it's probably a combination, right? In California, in particular, you had, for the first time, every registered voter was sent a mail-in ballot. Usually those you need to request those.
Sure.
And so by having more people voting that way versus going into the traditional polls, it does take longer to tabulate. If you put it in the mail, it takes a little bit longer to get there. You're going through just the process of opening the ballots and sorting them. It takes longer just mechanically. And in California, the laws are different than other states where ballots can be accepted up until after the election day, as long as they're postmarked on election day. So I think that this was kind of a perfect storm, if you will, of volume of votes. It's a presidential race, so you're going to have a higher volume than others,
Sure.
mixed in with a higher number of vote by mail or drop in. So it's going to take longer, coupled with areas in Santa Clarita in particular that are very competitive seats.
Yeah.
And so you don't get that clear break. We do have some races, obviously, that are pretty clear, but as you mentioned, one of our state Senate races and our congressional race are very tight, and it's going to take it's going to take probably another week or so to get those results.
Yeah, so I guess as an electorate, we're just going to have to be patient. Fortunately, like you mentioned, and not to gloat, some of us can sleep the next couple of days, while other folks are losing a little bit of sleep while we keep counting. Now, continuing to look back, I'm sorry.
Definitely I'd rather be in our. It's better to be, and certainly in our position where, you and I can, we can look, but we're just looking for other races that are, they're not our races, and I've been on both sides, and certainly can be very stressful.
Well, yeah, I wasn't the only one in the family running this cycle. My brother also ran for a local office, and the two of our families sat together in a hotel room watching returns, and yeah, it was difficult because we literally, as a family, we were on both sides of that. So it was the exact definition of a bittersweet evening. So yeah.
Sure.
Continuing to look back just a few days prior to that, let's talk about Halloween. Now, the county health department kind of sternly warned LA County against any kind of Halloween celebration, and specifically trick-or-treating. And well, they came back and they kind of double dog dared us a few days later. But you came out about a week prior to that and basically told Santa Clarita, hey, be safe, be responsible, make good decisions, but let your kids enjoy the day. So now, after the fact, as you look back on Halloween, do you think that was the right call? And do you think that our friends and neighbors followed your exhortation and did it the right way?
So I appreciate you asking the question, because this is a kind of a good case study about how about communications. When I was presenting my kind of bi-weekly Facebook Live update about activities earlier that day, the county had provided, and the state had provided, clarity around Halloween. They said, okay, we recommend against trick-or-treating, but parties, large gatherings, those are still prohibited. So in my Facebook Live update, all I thought I was doing was just providing that clarity, and I was just being a conduit of information to the residents, because orders change regularly, and I just said that per the state and county, trick-or-treating is recommended against but not prohibited. So if you do choose to trick-or-treat in Santa Clarita, do it safely, do it respectfully, but the sheriff's department isn't going to be out citing anybody, and it is permissible. And I moved on to give other updates, and later on that evening I checked my social media, and there was a story about Smyth allows trick-or-treating in Santa Clarita, which gave the impression that I had issued some type of executive order, thumbing our nose at the county, when all I thought I was doing was just passing along the
kind of reiterating.
So it took a life of its own, and when I was being interviewed by LA-based media, and one of the questions they asked was about, am I worried about people from outside of Santa Clarita coming into trick or treat? I was surprised they asked that question. I said, well, they don't have to. People, they can trick or treat in their own
in their own neighborhoods.
It's not prohibited,
right?
It was. But that being said, I know from my own experience, we had very few trick-or-treaters come to our on my street, less than usual, and I didn't hear any real feedback from residents that felt their streets were overrun or people weren't being safe. And in fact, quite the opposite. You saw a lot of creative ways that people were distributing the candy.
Right.
They were doing, using gloves and then putting them down a slide, like a candy chute. And, and so I think, overall, I think it went well, and people, like Santa Clarita has always been pretty good about following the orders and directives, and I don't think it was any different on Halloween.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I have to tell you, speaking of social media, I saw so many posts after the fact thanking the community. Thank you for giving my child a 2020 Halloween experience. And there were some kind of heartwarming posts after the fact, and so I think you're right. I think the community kind of pulled together and did what they needed to do, kind of on both sides. Did what they needed to do to stay safe, but did what they needed to do to continue to live our lives. Speaking of which,
and I saw it on, I have a little 5-house cul-de-sac, and 2 of us had our lights on, 3 didn't.
Okay.
And people, the kids knew. They came to our house and the other house, and they bypassed the others. And then, so it seemed that people kind of got it.
Yeah, good. So it is. I mentioned before, it has been quite a year. We've been through a lot. And it's been a while. It's been a while since you and I have talked on the air. I think it's been over 4 months now. And I know you recently held a virtual State of the City event. But for those of our listeners who weren't able to be there, can you kind of give us the Cliff Notes version of how the city's doing? Where are we at?
Sure. And I think that's we've tried to help the residents know that despite what's happened with the pandemic and all the restrictions and slowdowns, Santa Clarita has still made tremendous progress in moving our community forward this year. Just a few examples of what's happened in 2020 that we started with opening up the brand new senior center that has served at this point over 100,000 meals to our seniors. We opened up a new a new fire station also there on Golden Valley Road. We opened up the largest all-inclusive play structure at Canyon Country Park in northern LA County. We opened up our new bike park that is up and running, and we're already into phase 2 on that. Projects like the new sheriff's station, the Canyon Country Community Center, those have continued their construction and moving forward. We opened up a new park at Plum Canyon. So, the city still was able to move forward on a lot of important things for the community, a lot of amenities, and in 2021, I think we'll have the opening of the sheriff's station, the opening of the community center. The Lemley Theater should open in 2021.
Yeah.
So a lot of good progress that we've continued on.
That is really encouraging to hear, because when we look at 2020, we kind of focus on what's going to happen to us next. But it seems like here in Santa Clarita, we just keep plugging right along. Yes, we've faced a tremendous amount of adversity, and there are some folks that that have had an incredibly rough year, but as a city, we continue to move things forward. That is exciting, and we appreciate the leadership of people like yourself and the other city council members. Now, I was reading.
Yeah, and just a couple other, just tonight or next week at the council meeting, we're going to, I expect we're going to approve the transfer of land to Family Promise, which is one of our homeless service providers, and to provide them land and to enable them to build their facility to allow for families transitioning. And so that's another great addition and benefit to the community that kind of shows our partnership with our homeless providers. We still are, the New Hall Community Center is still providing shelter, substituting shelter for Bridge to Home to enable them to keep their clients there while maintaining all the safety protocols that they couldn't have at their existing facility. So a lot of those great partnerships still moving ahead.
That is great. That is terrific to hear. Now, I was reading the other day about a court decision that made me think about some of the conversations that you and I had back in the late spring, early summer. A judge in Northern California came down with a ruling regarding Governor Newsom's powers. What can you tell us about that? What can you tell us about that ruling, and what does the case have to do? How does it affect us here in Santa Clarita?
So, the case was brought by two California legislators who rightly believed that the governor was circumventing the legislature and in a way, I don't want to say, maybe expanding his the envelope of his administrative powers, and the courts seem to rule and agree with that. It doesn't have any impact with current rules, unfortunately, but it does, I think, force the governor to engage in the proper process with co-equal branches of government, like the legislature, to move forward on any additional executive orders or rulings. There is a test in place now that I think the legislature is going to have more buy-in, and that doesn't mean that that any of these orders maybe would have a different outcome. But as someone who's a former legislator, I believe deeply in the co-equal branches, and that the executive branch must engage the legislative branch, which gives the people of California, through our elected officials, a greater voice on these decisions, as opposed to just a unilateral power of an executive.
Right. I believe I was talking to somebody not long ago who was explaining that it was actually the legislature itself that gave him some of these kind of emergency powers, which isn't uncommon, but the difference this time is there wasn't a kind of an end date or any kind of sunset on that decision, and so this was a way to go back and make sure that then we make it a more collaborative process, correct?
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, the outcome may end up still being the same given the makeup of the legislature, but we don't have we have our systems in place for a reason, and they should be followed.
Okay. All right. And outside of pandemics and absolute political uncertainty, we're experiencing quite a bit of a social revolution here in our country in 2020, and you really took on some leadership early on and reestablished the Human Relations Roundtable here in our city. Have you made any progress lately on that? How are things going as we continue to engage all of the sectors of our community?
Yeah, we are, and I know that it probably was a little bit slower than some people would like, but the reason why it's taking a bit longer is we want it to be deliberate, intentional, and really long lasting. And so we've engaged experts to help build out kind of the framework of what the roundtable is going to look like. We went through an application process, and I believe we had almost 90 applicants to join the roundtable.
Wow.
There's a community panel that kind of went through the applications and then kind of whittled that list down to a number to conduct interviews, which I think is kind of where we are now. And then I think the appointments will be made sometime this month, and I imagine the first meeting will be there'll be a kickoff meeting, if not in November or early December, and really have it up and running for the first of the year. And we wanted to make this as non-political as possible, and so I asked that there be the community panel to do the appointing and the reviews. And so there's no even perception that the council is involved or making any of these decisions. It's a community panel, and it's going to be made up of the community members. Certainly, I expect the co-chairs will be Dr. Sharice Moore from the Hart District and Bill Miranda from the city, and really be a community committee that people don't believe had any politics around the appointment. So that's why it takes a little bit longer, but I think that's important to ensure that the roundtable is doing the job that people want, and it's going to be a long-term part of our community.
Very wise. That intentionality is going to ensure that it becomes an effective tool for change and not just a showpiece to say, hey, look, we're doing something. Mr. Mayor, I know you're busy. Have you got anything else for us before you depart?
No, I think that's good. I appreciate the time to be able to reconnect again and quick updates. Come December, I've got about a month left of my term as mayor before we maintain the city's tradition of transitioning over, and I'm excited for Bill Miranda to become mayor and be the city's first Hispanic mayor, and it's going to be a great year for the city, I think, into 2021. So just coming up on the end, and looking forward to thanks to the voters. I'll be back for another 4 years.
Yeah, terrific. As always, we appreciate your time, and let's make sure we get you in here at least one more time in December before we transition to Mayor Miranda.
Absolutely. You got to have an end of the year recap.
There we go. We'll maybe do a top 10 list or something like that. That'd be great. As always, we can't thank you enough for your leadership, and we're so grateful for your time. We will talk soon.
Nope. Sounds good, Matt. Talk to you soon.
Have a great weekend.
All right. You too.
Was I right? What a show. Oh, wow. And it's not over yet. Big T is going to join us when we get back. If you know Big T, you know we are about to have a lot of fun. So do stick around. You're listening to SCVI and iLEAD School's Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS. Excuse me, had to clear my throat there. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVI and iLEAD School's Eye on the Valley, and I am your host, Matt Watson. Here at Eye on the Valley, we are all about living your best life, but nobody can accomplish that on their own. To truly live your best life, you need the love and support of 6 people. Yeah, grab a pencil. You need the love and support of 6 people. You need family. You need a best friend. You need a mentor. You need somebody to get in trouble with every once in a while. And if you're going to do that, you need somebody to get you out of trouble. And you need someone to inspire you. And I am so blessed because I have those 6 people all in one. I am so happy to welcome back to the show my brother, my man, my alibi, my accessory to the crime, Big T. Welcome back.
What up, Matty?
I'm doing well.
Hey, there's one more thing you need.
What's that?
If you're running for office, you need more than 8,000 votes.
I'm here to tell you, you do not. At least not the office that I ran for.
True that. So that being said, Matt, congratulations on your victory.
Thanks, Tony. I do appreciate it, and I want to congratulate you. You also ran an incredibly noble and a strong race. I'm sorry the results couldn't be different for you, but you also handled it extremely well. I understand you called your opponent and congratulated her and encouraged her to continue to do great things for the COC board.
Of course. You know, it was a lot of fun. It really was. You know, nobody likes to lose. We all want to win, but it was a great experience. It was exhilarating at times. It was frustrating at times. But I learned a lot. But, you know, really these last 2 days I've been out in the community. I've been picking up my signs. So, you know, our community looks good again.
Yep.
And it was really surreal. I mean, you're out there after getting your butt kicked and you're out there picking up your own signs. That's worse than the walk of shame. I mean, I think I had more people honking at me when I was picking up my signs than when I was putting them out.
Well, I got to tell you something that I learned. When you win the election, you don't have to pick up your own signs. I had a couple guys out there picking them up for me. It was great. Thanks for that, by the way.
That's like making it to the show, right? People carry your luggage. Probably the most disappointing thing to me, Matt, is not as many people listen to Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame as I thought.
Well, you know, Mom's listening, and it's been a good couple of months since Mom tuned in because, of course, you know, the FCC standards. We couldn't have you on the air while you were actively campaigning, but so Mom's missed the show for the last couple of months because she only listens when her favorite son's on.
Yeah, she set an alarm this morning. She's up. She wanted to listen.
All right, great. Well, welcome to the show, Mom. Oh, gosh.
Right. So, you know, with all this, you were talking a little bit with Cameron Smyth about it, but with all this turmoil going on, it was funny. I was talking to my neighbors yesterday, and one of them told me, he says, man, if Biden gets elected, I'm leaving the country.
Wow.
And then I talked to his wife, and she's like, well, if Trump gets elected, I'm leaving the country.
Oh, okay.
Now, neither one of them follow politics. They just like to travel.
Okay, so that's good. You know, but you do see that. It seems like every election nowadays, but this year it seemed like it was a little bit more prevalent. I thought the greatest line of election night was by Pam Ingram, local real estate agent. You know, she posted on election night. She said, if you're looking to leave the country because your candidate lost, I can help sell your home.
There you go.
That was great. Good
We've
job,
talked
Pam.
about hustling for a long time, right? Always hustling.
Stay on top of it.
You know, one of the cool things, Matt, is we had a couple of 100-year anniversaries this election cycle, and I know you know it, but 100 years ago, 1920, Warren G. Harding was elected.
He was,
and he was one of our fattest presidents. Okay,
take it easy.
We also have 100 years ago. This was the first time that women had the right to vote. 100 years ago.
It is.
So if you follow that logic of if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, that means women love the fat man, right?
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
In that case, it's the salad days for me. Well, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you know I haven't seen salad days in a long time.
Yep. Hey, so I got a little bit of election fun fact, and then I've got some fun why questions. If we could go to that, is that cool?
Yeah, go for it.
So it's a strange outcome this year and everything that's going on, and it's still unsettled. But you know, you think back to the strange outcomes, and I know we saw it in a recent play. But in 1800, the contest between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams was bizarre, and it actually amended the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. See, there was a problem with the system in 1796 that surfaced, but we still let it slide into 1800, and so Jefferson was tied with his running mate Aaron Burr. Both had 73 votes. Adams had 65 votes. So Congress was called upon to break the tie. So enter in Alexander Hamilton, the nation's first Secretary of the Treasury.
Yeah.
Okay. He was also the founder of the Federalist Party, but he didn't care for Adams, Jefferson, or Burr. So Hamilton engaged in a campaign to convince the Federalists to vote for Jefferson, which was the lesser of his three evils, writing a letter to them basically saying that Mr. Burr loves nothing but himself, thinks nothing but himself. So the House of Representatives didn't easily arrive to the decision. They cast 35 votes in a week before naming Jefferson the victor over Burr, and Burr, in essence, becoming the VP.
Because back in those days, what would happen is the candidate for the presidency that came in second place became the vice president. So
how awkward is that, right?
Right, totally awkward. If you could imagine one of the two candidates today winning the election and the other becoming his VP. But that's the way we did it for the first 25, 30 years of our union. So anyways, go on.
Absolutely.
So Jefferson wins. Aaron Burr becomes his vice president.
So making things even crazier, the rivalry between Burr and Hamilton, as we all know, continued for 3 more years before Burr, still sitting as the vice president, killed Hamilton in a duel.
The vice president murdered one of the founding fathers. Yeah.
Right? I'll tell you what, I'm glad we don't do that in elections anymore, although I might have had a little bit better luck, but I mean, you never know. I don't know how skilled Dr. Alonso is with a 45.
I've heard that Dr. Alonso can handle herself, so watch out, Big T.
I'm sure she can.
Oh, goodness.
So I've got some fun facts for you and I and Patty. Now, Patty, we're not looking for the right answer here. We're just looking for quick, witty responses. You got it?
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's what that's what I majored in college, was not the right answer, but the quickest answer.
That sounds like our Thanksgiving table. So if vampires can't see their reflection, how come their hair's always so neat?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's always on point. Did you see what I did there?
Yeah, always on point. So why does quicksand work so slowly?
Quicksand? Why does it work so slowly?
Because it's speedy.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Why is vanilla ice cream white and why is vanilla extract brown?
Oh, did they extract the brown?
They extracted the brown from the cocoa bean or from the vanilla beans,
right.
So maybe that's it.
Could be.
But where'd the brown go when it made ice cream?
I don't know. It went into the extract.
Maybe so.
To put in my
can
French
animals
toast.
commit suicide?
You know what? I have seen a goat run really fast into a brick wall.
I had a couple goldfish that I think took themselves out. Or maybe they were just overfed. I don't know. Hey, Maddie, is it rude for a deaf person to talk or to sign with their mouth full?
No, but it is rude for them to sign with their hands full.
Oh, okay, good point.
Yeah.
Hey, how can something be new and improved? If it's new, what were they improving on?
Okay, so maybe that new prototype is still new, and they realized right away that they messed it up.
Right. Hey, why do they sterilize lethal injections?
See, I've wondered that. That room that they do those lethal injections in is often more sterile than the average operating room.
Darn, he had an infection.
Right, exactly.
All right, Patty, did you watch cartoons growing up?
Yes, absolutely.
He still watches cartoons.
I still
Read
do.
a lot of kids' books?
Yeah.
Good. So would you rather live next door to Clifford the Big Red Dog or have Curious George as your roommate?
I'd rather live next to Clifford the Big Red Dog.
You just better make sure that he doesn't do his business in your
Keep in mind
yard.
what he's going to do in the big backyard. You know what I'm saying?
It's
There's
true.
going to be a lot of that stuff left outside your window, Patty.
That's true.
Could you imagine the barking on a Sunday morning?
My ear,
No
I go
kidding.
deaf.
Hey, if money doesn't grow on trees, then why do banks have branches?
Oh my God.
Come on, that's a dad joke. Good dad joke.
It is. It's not
My
a dad joke.
God.
Right. Hey, do vegetarians eat animal crackers?
I don't know. I'm going to have to call your niece, Becca.
Right. Hey, how come there's no B-size batteries?
No B-size batteries?
Right.
Nobody wants to put on their shopping list B batteries.
B batteries.
It sounds like a stuttering.
Right. If men evolved from monkeys, how come we still have monkeys?
Huh.
That's a good point, right?
Right? I'm just going to scratch my head and say,
Speaking of scratching your head, if you're bald, what hair color do you put on your driver's license?
Clear?
None?
Right. N-A. There we go.
N-A.
Is cereal a soup?
Oh my God.
It's a cold soup, like gazpacho.
Gazpacho.
I'm having my gazpacho
Good one,
crunch.
Patty. Hey, if animals could talk, which one would be the rudest?
Cats.
Oh, yeah,
Cats.
definitely. No, because cats
Yeah,
wouldn't
there
talk
you
to
go.
you if they could.
No, but they'd be so sarcastic
Oh, yeah,
or
they would.
flippant with you, yeah.
Good
All right,
call.
what about the most boring or the smartest?
The smartest of the animals? Well, elephants are known for their memory, but I got to think, a dolphin's pretty smart.
That's true, actually, yeah.
But, those guys are
Dolphin,
probably
owl,
witty.
most boring's got to be a hippo.
The most boring? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's he going to talk about? Wash myself again.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Want to see me wiggle
Hey,
my
how many-
ears?
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. How many chickens would it take to kill an elephant?
All of them.
All of them for one.
Do you think cavemen had nightmares about cave women?
I
I'm trying to
Trouble,
think.
Matt. You're not married.
well, no,
That's
I'm
true.
editing my punchline. I think cavemen had nightmares about dinosaurs.
Right. Which would you prefer to have as a roommate, a bird or a goat?
Oh, a bird, definitely.
Definitely bird.
I've had a bird as a roommate.
Yeah.
It wasn't pleasant, but
Yeah.
I've also hung out with goats.
Better than a goat.
Yeah.
What's the worst
Antonio
and most
Brown
annoying
says
catchphrase?
Antonio Brown says that Tom Brady, the goat, is a pretty good roommate.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's got a point.
What's the worst or most annoying catchphrase?
There's a lot of them out
Mine-
there.
What's yours?
It is what it is.
It is. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. Don't go
Yeah.
all existentialist on me.
Hey, if a doctor suddenly had a heart attack while doing surgery, would the other doctors work on the doctor or the patient?
Huh.
Well, I feel like they would work on the doctor because the other guy can wait for it. Be patient.
Oh, stop it with the pun.
All right.
That's a good one.
What Disney princess would make the best spy?
Ooh, I gotta think.
Ooh.
Like Pocahontas, maybe.
Maybe Sleeping Beauty. She's just laying there listening.
Oh, he's got a point.
Yeah, but she's got to be very opportune. She's got to wait for her subject to walk in on her.
Yeah.
Right. What superhero would make the best therapist?
Oh, okay. So Batman had his own issues, and they say that if you study therapy long enough, you will eventually need therapy. And so based on his need, I'm thinking that maybe Bruce Wayne studied therapy. I don't know.
He's got a lot of problems, though.
Got some issues.
I'd have to go with Aquaman because he seems like the most patient listener because he had that boop, 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 as he was listening to try to figure out what those animals were saying or mammals, whatever you want to say.
That's true.
Yeah.
What smells better, fresh cut grass or bread baking in the oven?
Bread baking in the oven.
I'm with Patty, and
Yeah.
remember, Big T, you're allergic to fresh cut grass.
I know, that's true. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, so I've had cuy. You know what cuy is, Tony.
Right.
Patty, do you know what cuy is?
No, I do not. What is that?
It's roast hamster, buddy.
Yeah, what?
It is
Yikes.
barbecued hamster. I've had cuy. I've had lemon ants, live lemon ants. They actually do taste like lemon, yeah.
See, mine's probably quesadilla, huh?
Oh, okay. That's fresh cheese made, like, wrapped in a banana leaf.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Huh, that's cool.
Yep. So, Patty, would you rather win the lottery or be named Employee of the Month every month?
Win the lottery easily.
Right.
No way, man. Give me that
What's that?
plaque every month.
I don't want that.
I'm going to wallpaper my apartment in those plaques.
All right. What was your first computer game?
I
I think mine was in television. Wasn't that the first one we had, Matt?
Yeah, well, Shannon, our stepbrother, had it, and he would let us play sometimes. And then, the guys that lived across the street every now and then would allow us to look over their shoulder as they played Castle Wolfenstein on their Apple IIc. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think mine was like there's like a little Jurassic Park game. Oh no, it wasn't. It was Super Mario Go Fish.
Super Mario Go
There you
Fish.
go.
Sweet. Hey, real quick, Patty, quick check on time. How we doing?
We are. Oh, we could go to break in about a minute or so. We're still
right.
doing good though for the end.
All right, one or two more, and we'll go to break, and then we'll have you come back.
All right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, flight's got to be cool. Yeah.
Teleportation.
That would be mine, too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Teleportation.
All right. I guess I'm just not being
All right,
creative.
why is it that when we skate on thin ice, we get ourselves into hot water?
Because we're mixing our metaphors. That's why.
If a baby's leg pops out at 11:59 p.m. but his head doesn't pop out until 12:01, which day was he born on?
I think by definition he's got to be clear. Like the whole body's got to be clear.
Yeah, I'd say
Like
so.
all the way out?
Yeah, right? Exactly. It's like in the NBA, or that basketball's got to go all the way through the hoop.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Last one, tying it right back up to elections. If pros and cons are opposites, wouldn't the opposite of progress be Congress?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
And with that, Big T, we've got to take a break. Big T, do you have a couple of minutes? Can you stick around and take us through the end of the show?
I could stick around, but I don't have any more material unless you want me to give some.
No, that's cool. We're good. If you want to stick around, great. I can wrap up the show when we come back. We will be right back with
Yeah, I'll stick
SCVI
around.
and iLEAD School's Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson. He's Big T. We will be right back on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and clearly Big T is continuing on to the end of the show with us. You are listening to SCVI and iLEAD School's Eye on the Valley. You know, we've had a great show today. I told you we were going to have a great show, and we did. Lisa Latimer and Ayden Bybee from iLEAD Agua Dulce joined us earlier this morning, talking about the incredibly fun, engaging, and rigorous things that they're doing at iLEAD Agua Dulce. We got caught up with Mayor Cameron Smyth. There's a lot of cool things going on in the valley, and he kind of let us know where we stand with elections and everything going on in the city. And man, I missed you, Big T. It's good to have you back. You know, we've only got a couple more minutes before we have to wrap the show. Have you got any more fun for us?
Yeah, I've got some more fun for us, but hey, we talked about missing our friends. I mean, there you are still there saying, excuse me when I cough. Nice.
You know, it was a little misdirection, you know. It's quality leadership, even when it's not your fault. Take the blame.
All right, so why is it that lemon juice is made with artificial flavor, but dishwashing liquid is made with real lemons?
Well, I always assumed that dishwashing liquid was also made with artificial flavor.
Some of it. How come there's not a special name for the tops of your feet?
Oh, like the sole of your feet, the bottom, that's the sole of your feet?
Yeah, huh.
Maybe the tops should be the body of your feet?
If nothing sticks to Teflon, how'd they get the Teflon to stick to the pan?
Oh my.
Double-sided tape.
That's true.
Why is it considered necessary to nail down the lid of a coffin?
So the undead don't rise?
Right. Because you may have been married to that person.
You never know.
Right?
Well, you had some of those floods in the Midwest back in the day, right? Where some of them were starting to go down the street. And
Yeah.
They didn't have any GPS on the coffins.
Right, because some of those graveyards were below the water table. They didn't have GPS on the coffin. Great. How do you figure out where Grandpa went? Oh, man.
Turn left on 7th. Why is it that rain drops but snow falls?
Oh. Yeah, because I always think of dropping being slower than falling, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. Indeed.
Right. How come the guy that invests your money, how come he's called a broker?
That's concerning. Right? The same
Yeah.
way it's concerning what a doctor does being considered practice.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Right?
You're the experiment.
You know, how come there's not mouse-flavored cat food?
I don't
There's
know.
fish
I've never
flavor.
tasted it. There's fish flavor? There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how come the sun lightens our hair but it darkens our skin?
Oh. Maybe trying to find that sweet medium. I don't know. I feel like it's time that's lightening my hair.
True.
Now, Matt, I want to caution you on your response to this because I know it sounds like a really cool idea, but it's just a funny pun. Why is it called lipstick if you can still move your lips?
I'm out. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, jeez.
If it's not all lost, then where is it?
Say that again?
If it's not all lost, then where is it?
It's not all lost, and where is it? You know what? It's in the dryer with the socks.
Yeah. Hey, if Barbie's so popular, how come you have to buy all her friends?
Ouch.
Alrighty, you got one more. You got one more for us, Big T.
Yeah, how come there's flotation device under plane seats instead of parachutes?
That's a good point.
That's
Give
a
me a
good point.
parachute. There we go. Especially if I'm flying cross country.
True.
What's the chance that I'm going to land in the Mississippi River? Alrighty, that is all the time that we have, brother. I want to take a couple seconds to thank all of our guests this morning. Again, Lisa Latimer and Ayden Bybee from iLEAD Agua Dulce, Mayor Cameron Smyth, and my ace, Big T. Thank you, Engineer Patty. We appreciate your help. And thank all of you for joining us. Join us again next Friday and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVI and iLEAD School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.